Hi there. Recently, I attended a meeting of the Grahamstown Business Forum, and they asked me to talk about the future and Grahamstown and business and a whole lot more. We've been thinking a lot about this at the Rhodes Business School, and here are my views. We have a problem in South Africa. National Treasury has identified that if our population carries on going at the current rate, we will need to create 9 million new jobs in the next 50 years. If South Africa doesn't start getting its act together, the place is simply going to degenerate into social chaos. We have to do something about it. And in all the middle of this, we have Makana. It consists of 80,000 people out of a population of South Africa of 56 million. 30,000 are below the age of 14 and have nothing at all. 26,000 are unemployed. Youth unemployment is at a staggering level, and 46,000 of the population of 80,000 Makana residents, 58%, have virtually nothing. That's your starting point. In amongst this, we have a student population that comes and goes, and they have their own problem, the fees must fall crisis. If we go to Stats SA, we've got just over 7,000 taxpayers in the municipal area. They earn about 1.5 billion rand a year, and they pay about 250 million rand in tax. The average income of the taxpayers is 202,000 rand a year, and by national average, there are about 700 people in Makana who earn over 500,000 rand a year, which is what we generally classify as being a high net worth individual. We have a problem in South Africa today in that the growth rates which kept us going in the early years of the new South Africa simply evaporated after the financial crisis, and South Africa is not growing at all except in population. So we get the visit of legendary economist Thomas Piketty to South Africa last year, and everybody went along to see the show and hope for the best. Well, it didn't happen, because we're looking at this. If we go by Cape Town economist Murray Leibbrandt, a former Rhodes lecturer, we see that in 1948, at the dawn of apartheid, 1% of the population had 20% of the income. By the end of apartheid, 1% of the population only had 10% of the income. But today, we are back where we started in 1948 and going south. The levels of inequality in South Africa are rising, not falling. Meanwhile, South Africa's reaction in Parliament to this is to fight about Nkandla for the last 2,000 days. But during that time, 1.2 million babies have arrived in South Africa. That's 3,300 nearly every day. So, over 6 million kids have arrived in South Africa since the Nkandla debacle started. That's enough to fill the Calabash Stadium 60 times over. What's the reaction to the baby shower? We fight about Nkandla. Recently, Stats SA released our population numbers, and it shows a very disturbing trend. What we have here in the grey line is the population predictions of the National Development Plan. South Africa's population was supposed to level off, but it isn't. It's growing far faster than anyone ever thought it would. And so by 2030, the D-Day of the National Development Plan, we will have 64 million South Africans. Everybody thinks we're going to sink under the stresses of the grant system. Actually, what we find is that the grant system is coping quite well, and its absorption of the gross domestic product is actually declining. What we are getting, though, is a bulging middle. The South African age group, age 14 to 65, is growing at an astronomical rate. So this week, Stats SA comes out with the cheerful news that life expectancy in South Africa has now increased to 62, and by 2030, the life expectancy of South Africans is going to be about 70. That means a whole lot more people, all mainly in the missing middle. So what is the future for somebody in the missing middle? Somebody turning 19, their birthday present is that their child grant stops, they have a stuffed up education, and youth unemployment is rampant. Effectively, we are expecting them to disappear and live in the townships, underserviced, for another 45 years, until they get their old age grant. That's a frightening expectation. And not even Thomas Piketty has the answers for that. He's looking at what's gone on in Europe and America, where populations are not really growing. So we come back to Makana and what we believe to be our miserable lot. But let's have a look at the resources. We have the school system, we have the university, we have the monument and the festival, we have tourism, and we have willing people. But above all of that, we've probably got more brains per square kilometre than anywhere else in South Africa. So if you think we've got a miserable lot in Makana, we are far better off than in most municipalities. But we have a major problem with inequality. We all know that. We have a crumbling infrastructure that is a product of years of neglect. We have the fees must fall crisis at Rhodes University and an economy that's not doing very well at the moment. And all of this leads to letters in the newspaper, etc., with all sorts of doom and gloom talk about Grahamstown. Those problems have been there since Colonel Graham fell off his horse. What we've got to do is find something and do something about it ourselves. We have to recognize that today we have to respect the rights of stakeholders. Stakeholders are the elephant in the room. They don't necessarily own everything, but they do expect a fair deal. What we have to do with the stakeholders is say, yes, we have to observe your rights, we have to listen to you, but please don't become a nuisance. And this is an important point. Some stakeholders seek to get disruptive and try and dump on the attempts that are being made to make a better life for all. We have to adopt a process as Obama did in 2008. Yes, we can. Now, you will immediately say to me, Obama has not achieved his objectives. And that's quite correct. But the bottom line is the intention was good. What happened was it all got torpedoed. And that is a very dangerous thing that we face in Grahamstown, where the initiatives of others are simply dumped on, a la Obama. Now, we talk a lot in the Business Forum about growing business and the various initiatives that are there. We've worked on this on the Davis Tax Committee, and I can tell you the following. The National Development Plan is saying that entrepreneurs are our hope in achieving the objectives of the 2030 National Development Plan. But you have to be careful there. We have to distinguish between the formal sector, not enormously huge in Grahamstown, the missing middle or the entrepreneurs. Those are growing businesses. And then the informal sector, sometimes referred to as the survivalist business community. These are businesses where people are purely trying to eke out a living. What has been found in the research is that survivalist business is not the hope for the future that everybody makes it out to be. The hope for the business community is that we must be able to catapult survivalist business into the missing middle where they become entrepreneurs. It's no use to simply hand out money. We have to get involved in formalizing businesses so that we can grow them to a level where we can find outside funding for them, be that from bankers or donors. An enormous initiative is needed in this regard. Now, here are some examples of things that have worked in Grahamstown. 2 images. In the will of Rhodes, there was £50,000 to build that building. That didn't create Rhodes. The community of Grahamstown made Rhodes by working together. They were the seed idea, the seed capital, and when there was a good prospect of something working, then the money followed. Up on the hill we have the monument. And we say, who on earth paid for that? Well, bottom line, the answer was government paid for it. But what happened? The Grahamstown community got together and said they wanted a monument. They started the project, they showed its potential, and the money followed. Following on from that, we get the festival, the 11 Days of Amazing, that brings 350 million rand into Grahamstown. Unfortunately, 250 million rand leaves straight away afterwards. But it's a great success story. What happened? Guy Butler and friends started a festival. When it started growing and it was successful, the money followed. Success follows success. And this is why we've got to get together in Grahamstown and say, we need to start off some successful enterprises here before we are going to get the financial assistance that we so desperately need. So we have to understand that modern business has changed. And if you'd like to enter the Rhodes Business School for 5 minutes, we'll show you how it works. We've always seen business as being an issue of looking for efficiency and profits. How much money can I save? How much money can I earn? Etc., etc. But in the last 15 years, a new dimension is entering business, the social spectrum. Is your business morally right? What is its cost to society, and what is the contribution that we are getting from it? And we need to start measuring these efficiencies in terms of both spectrums. That can get quite confusing until you basically put it into a new form of diagram where we say, old business was just looking for efficiency. Put some characters there. You can put Trump and David Cameron there. Efficiency above everything else, they say. Today's society is wanting a lot more from that. They are wanting stuff that is morally justifiable and fair. And this is why the likes of Piketty and Bernie Sanders in America are gaining traction. They are saying the old way we did it, just pursuing profits, is not good enough. This would be a very good model for Grahamstown to follow. We're saying we want you to make profits. But in everything that we are doing, we need to have a look at the contribution business is making to society. That's the critical issue. So we are saying businesses that are morally wrong or make losses, that's worst practice. The benchmark is where you are at least making some profit and you are obeying the law. But best practice is a business that is profitable and is making a contribution. So there is the new spectrum that we want to go on. We're saying we are looking for best practice in Grahamstown, where the business community are making a contribution to society, not just taking from it. That's a tall order, and it narrows down the field for achieving a truly successful business today. What are the solutions we can come up with? Well, we have lots of ideas. And unfortunately, ideas on their own are worthless. We have to take these ideas and to get them to start working. We have to make an environment that people want to do business in. Now, we're never going to do that in the course of one meeting of the Grahamstown Business Forum. What we need is massive contribution. My idea on it is to talk about the Makana Kadesa. The one time it's really worked in South Africa was when they locked everybody up in a room and said, come up with solutions. And we worked until we found solutions. That was South Africa at its best. I would like to see a mini Makana Kadesa where we get everybody around a table and work out a way that we are going to face the future. Because if we're going to leave it for government, we are going to wait a hell of a long time. There should be only one rule to the Makana Kadesa. Everybody is invited, but please leave your egos at the door. I'm Matthew Lester at the Rhodes Business School. Thanks for your attention.